Welcome to Power Conversations Podcast by What's Your Superpower TV. This podcast features conversations of overcoming by faith and pushing through to fulfill a purpose-driven life. This podcast is hosted by CEO and best-selling author Nadia Francois. Welcome to the broadcast. Welcome, everyone, to Power Conversations Podcast. I am your host, Nadia Francois, and today we have joining us one of our great friends, Miss ShawnLa'Re Brinkley. Hi, Queen.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. So I feel like I'm back at home. So hey, y'all. I
Yes.
am ShawnLa'Re Brinkley. ShawnLa'Re is one name. It's like Mary Ann, only fancier. And I am a licensed marriage family therapist in private practice in Encino, California. And I have the distinct pleasure of supervising several clinicians who are getting their hours toward their licensure. So I have employees that I get to do that with. And I'm also a transformational performance coach, which is in that regard, I help women and a few good men, but mostly women, actually move past limiting beliefs, difficult situations and obstacles in their lives, and move them into living in their God-given, God-driven purpose. So I have a phrase I call stepping into your who you are-ness. So I help people when they've lost their way from whatever the thing may have been. It can be trauma, it can be indecision, fear, all those things that keep us stuck. And I help them to work through those things and move past them, create new opportunities and ideas, bring ideas to fruition, and that kind of thing. I also am a podcaster. So I have a podcast that airs on Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock Pacific time called Boss Talk. That's bold, one-of-a-kind, sensational superstars. And I, like you, I get to interview people and find out like what they do and how they do it, what got them started, what makes them tick. So that kind of thing. And I am also an artist myself. So I am a singer and I have a band called Black Silk. And we've been on hiatus for the past several years, pre-pandemic. And now we actually have a gig. So I'm super excited about that. So I'm going to be performing with my band and my singers, vocalists this month, July 22nd in Los Angeles. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Perfect. Yes. So I love that. And I never knew. So being that you are a friend of the show and I'm a friend of your show, I never knew that you were in a band. Oh my God.
Yes,
That'll be super exciting. I'm a music lover, so that's exciting.
Oh yeah, thank you. We do blues, jazz, R&B. And this show, we are actually performing at an artist studio. It's an art gallery, and the artist is Emmy Lou. And if you look him up, you will see it's EMMY and then a new word LU. His work is amazing and it's very colorful, very soulful. And so we're going to be doing like jazz. He does a lot of jazz paintings with, jazz musicians, but they're kind of eclectic and kind of, they sort of have movement. I really love his work. And I actually bought my first piece of Black art from Emmy Lou over 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of a full circle thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I wish I was coming to Cali this month. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So I'm gonna definitely have to track y'all down one time when I'm
Yeah, for sure.
So let's hop into our interview.
Okay.
Now let's go ahead and tell our audience an obstacle that you have overcome that pushed you into your purpose.
Wow, that's a really great question. So, gosh, like when you think about that, you think about, first of all, you can't think of anything, and then all of a sudden, a lot of things start rushing into your head. So I want to just go ahead and acknowledge that I am a widow.
Yeah.
I am a COVID widow. I lost my husband, my amazing husband, William Joseph Brinkley, to COVID in 2021. And so that was definitely an obstacle that has lent toward me, moving into my purpose. But I actually shared that with your viewers the last time I was on the show. And
Yeah.
as I was sitting in the back, I thought about another obstacle, a group of obstacles that sort of pushed me to my purpose, which because at that time I had no idea what that was. And so when you think you're living and you're doing things and you think you're living your purpose until something happens that really makes it clear for you. And
Yeah.
I gained clarity on my purpose after being in a series of accidents. Um, I was I was a passenger in a taxi on my way to teach dance class in New York City. The taxi driver was a little bit upset with me because I didn't tip him because he had tried to drive me all over the city like I was a tourist. And I took a taxi to work every day, so I knew what it should cost.
Yeah.
And as I was getting out, he took off, and I was dragged, and like about 2.5 feet, and the back wheel ran over the calf of my leg.
Oh.
So yeah, so the pain, I passed out, and then I felt nothing. I was rushed to the hospital. That whole thing ended up being in the hospital for 30 days in traction.
Wow.
Left the hospital in a wheelchair. Couldn't walk for 6 months. I went from the wheelchair to crutches to a cane. Told I would never dance again, that I was going to walk with a gait, like walk funny as I called it. And just a lot of trauma behind that, a lot of PTSD
Yeah, for sure.
from seeing taxis and seeing people who were the race of the driver. I'll keep that to myself. But when I saw those people, it really took me to a place. So it was a really difficult time. And I recovered from that. God is good.
Yes,
And
yes.
I danced again. Uh, then I got hurt again. I was a passenger in a taxi, and this is the first time I got back in a taxi after that
Oh
situation
man.
happened. Went to the mall with a friend who was visiting from Ohio, and on our way back, we were going to our favorite restaurant at the time, called Jezebel's. Shout out to the actor Michael Wright, because his mother was the owner of that restaurant, and we were going there, and we got hit from behind by a truck, and we were pushed into a pole in front of the restaurant. So
Wow.
that was 6 more days in the hospital. And I failed to mention that I gained 100 pounds in a year and a half after that first accident, from going from not dancing, and I
Right.
was teaching dance and aerobics. Like I was teaching like 14 to 20 classes a week of dance, combination of dance and aerobics, and that happened. And so gained 100 pounds, lost about 60 pounds, and got hurt again. And
Mm.
so gained the weight again. Got better, lost 60 more pounds. And then I was teaching full figure women fitness in their homes. And I'd gone to Harlem to get my hair braided. I was walking across the street, and a produce truck, turned left and hit me. I went up in the air. I hit the ground flat on my back. And there was one man who saw this happen, and he took off running. And they said that he stopped the traffic, because the traffic, when the light changed at the block ahead of me, the traffic would have run me over. So that was number 3. And I guess I can call that a trilogy of trauma. Um,
Absolutely.
and I didn't recognize, Nadia, that I was depressed, that I was in trauma, that I had PTSD.
Wow.
Didn't recognize it, didn't know what it was, didn't realize that the weight didn't just come from the lack of movement, but it came
Right.
from the eating out of the emotion, out of the pain, out of the fear, and just feeling defeated. And I'm not one to, just lay down and take it. So I continued to function. I continued to do things. I had been a multi beauty queen winner prior to these accidents. And so one of my photographers, who had traveled to Europe with me as a result of my winning a pageant, and that was my grand prize to go to the Cannes Film Festival in Europe and to go to Paris, and ended up singing there and staying there for a while. I mean, like all these amazing things happened, and then this happened, and now I have a photographer who sees me and he's like, "Oh, what happened?" And I told him, and he said, "Call these people," and he gave me a phone number to these ladies who were doing a pageant called the Miss Big Beautiful Doll pageant. Shout out to Belinda Trotter, and in New York. And I entered the pageant. I won that pageant. And so again, these were triumphs, but I had no idea why these things were happening. Like I just thought, okay, well, you're resilient, you're this, you're that. But it wasn't until much later that I realized, as I really stepped into my purpose, that none of that was for me.
Right.
That none of it was for me. It was for the people that I was going to be able to serve when I became a therapist and a coach. And so it took some time. Definitely, more obstacles. I got fired from my job that I had for 10 years. And I thought, okay, well, what's next? At this point, I'm a woman of a certain age. So I'm thinking I'm supposed to have my career all lined up and all of that. And God was like, oh, girl, that was just for fun.
We just getting started.
This is the one, baby. And I have never been happier in this place of service that I get to live in, and I get to hold space for people. And I never understood. I always was like, wonder why that happened to me. Wonder why I had to go through that. And, growing up, I had a pretty charmed life. I grew up in a, wonderful family, loved me, spoiled me, all of those things. And I didn't have childhood trauma. The childhood trauma I had came when I was an adult and my parents divorced. That was traumatic for me. And I handled it like I was 5, but I was not. But the truth is, I got my trauma later.
Yeah.
And I got it so that I could relate to those who have trauma.
Yeah.
And so it definitely, it changed my life each time. But for such a time as this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. And oh my God, these stories. I am just overwhelmed right now because, and I mean, I know God is good now. So I'm not, taken aback by him pulling you through all of that, but just someone going through all of that, man. Like literally body deforming circumstances and situations. So I'm blessed to have you here with me today. Thank you.
Thank you. It is my honor.
Yes. So that was a lot.
It is, it's so funny because
I'm gonna think of something else. And I'm like, we have several things that pushed us into our purpose, but my Lord, wow.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a testimony for someone else to hear, because you kept going regardless. Like 1, you kept going, 2, you kept going, 3, you kept going, and then that's just that portion of your experiences, right? So we thank God. We thank God for today.
Yeah. And I look back and I think about like going through all of it, and I think about the some of the tiny things that happened that I didn't understand then or didn't know that it would be a testimony to help to pull someone else through. For instance, I work with women and, women who have had all kinds of trauma. I work with women who are struggling with their weight and struggling with food and food addiction and that kind of thing. And I understand that I have not been addicted to any chemical substances, but I have been addicted to food.
Right.
I have been in in a space where food was the most important thing to me. Like I would wake up thinking about what breakfast was going to be like, and believe me, I had already had a snack somewhere in the middle of the night. I was, after breakfast, I was thinking about lunch, dinner, in between. I mean, and when I knew that it was a real problem is when I ate something, and y'all, here's the dirty, ugly truth. I ate something and started eating it and realized, like, oh gosh, you're not supposed to eat this. And I wrapped it up and put it in a bag and put it in the garbage. And within 2 hours, I had gone back and taken it out of the garbage, unwrapped it, unbagged it, unwrapped it, and finished it. And then I was like, wait a minute.
What did I just
Wait
do?
a minute. What did I just do?
Yeah.
And I had to ask myself, like, is this this ain't who you are, And I actually, at that point, I got into a program, and God rest her soul, people have laughed and joked about this woman in this program. I think it was called the Way Down Workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this big haired Caucasian woman from the South.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot think of her name right now. Her and her family were tragically killed last year, I think, or the year before, in a helicopter or plane crash, like a private, kind of small jet. But the Way Down Workshop was using God and the scriptures to help you to lose weight, and it helps you to look at, like, the idea of your body as a temple. Looking at the idea that when you deface the temple, God is not pleased.
Yeah.
And that that scriptures that talk to you about being fearfully and wonderfully made, and about wanting to give you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, and debauchery and all of those things, that they really mean something for our lives. We can apply them anywhere. And in this program, I learned how to apply the scriptures to the way that I was eating.
Yeah.
And so it was an amazing beginning for me to start to fight, to lose, to let go of, to rid myself. I don't like to say lose, to rid myself of the excess weight.
Yeah. Wow. That's another testimony. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Queen.
So it's a journey, girl.
Queen overcomer. The queen overcomer. Come on. God is good, though.
Journey this life.
Right. Because one thing, you do not look like what you've been through. That's
girl, Jesus. Okay.
And then the other is that beautiful smile that you carry does not evoke any of that.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Yes, indeed. It's so funny too, because during, like, the time that I was going through all of those things, and my mom, people would ask my mother, is she always like this? Because she just laughed and giggled. My mother said, yeah, she ain't gonna sis enough to know how bad it is. But I have always, even from childhood, people would say something. I said, it feels good to feel good. It feels bad to feel bad. I choose to feel good.
Yeah.
And, and I realized that that's very simplistic, and it sounds simple. Of course, it's simple. I said it when I was a kid, but I still live by that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean stuff your feelings. That's what I had to learn. It doesn't mean that you're not going to acknowledge what you're feeling. It doesn't mean that you don't get to feel the pain and the hurt and the sadness and the depressed feelings and anxiety. All of it. It doesn't mean any of that. But it means that you decide that you're not going to let that be the thing that takes you out.
Yeah.
And so whenever, I've come to realize these things are going to happen. Life is going to keep on lifing, as one of my clients says.
Yeah, that's the new word. Life
be lifing. She said. And so when you recognize that, it's going to keep doing what it do, right? And so I just have to remember that I enjoy feeling good. And so that's where I try to stay.
Yes, I love that. That is a great way to live. It really is. I love that. Oh, so with that being said, with this full great interview, this is good. Go ahead and let us know about your business and how we can contact you, connect with you, find out about the band viewings,
Yes.
all that good stuff. And then we'll let you give us some final thoughts before we close out.
Absolutely. So my business is it's a corporation. So the corporation name is my name because as a licensed therapist, it has to have my name and what I do. So it's the ShawnLa'Re Brinkley Licensed Marriage Family Therapy, a professional corporation doing business as excuse me, Living Loved Pathways to Holistic Healing. And we are a practice that believes in healing the whole person, not just any one part of you, that when you come in, what's ailing you ails your entire being. And so we believe in healing the mind, body, and spirit. Excuse me, one second. Allergies and asthma are not a respecter of podcasts.
Right.
Excuse me. And then I am a transformational performance coach, and that is Living Loved Coaching. And my podcast is Boss Talk LA. And that's, as I said, that's bold, one of a kind, sensational superstars. And so you can find me at Living Loved Healing. That's LivingLovedHealing. So that's on Facebook, that's on Instagram, and my website is the same, livinglovedhealing.org for therapy, and livinglovedcoaching.com for coaching, and Boss Talk LA on YouTube, you can find that, and Facebook, you can find it on either of the Living Loved channel. For my Facebook, you can find the podcast on Wednesday nights at 6:00. And I also want to say that in honor of my late husband, William Joseph Brinkley, we have the William Joseph Brinkley Center for Cultural Affirmation, which is my 501c3 nonprofit organization, that part of the proceeds for the gig on the 22nd will be going to the nonprofit. This will be our first fundraiser.
Love it.
And I'm very excited about that. And with that organization, we plan to affirm people of color, do programming, mental health, wellness programming that affirms who we are and allows us to live fully in our God-given, God-driven purposes.
I love that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead and give us some final thoughts for our audience.
Well, since we've been talking about obstacles, I think it's important that we recognize that obstacles will come. There's no one that doesn't experience something that gets in the way of what we're trying to do. But I just invite y'all out there in this power conversation to always keep your eyes on the prize, no matter what gets in front of you. If something is in front of you, the obstacle is so big that you can't see over it, around it, through it, close your eyes and remember the vision.
Wow.
Close your eyes and remember the vision, and you'll get there. You will get there. Just don't stop.
I love it. Thank you so much, Miss ShawnLa'Re Brinkley, all the way from Encino, California, coming on to empower us tonight. Guys, reach out to this queen. Living Loved Healing.
That's it.
Reach out to her, guys. Connect with her, and make sure that you are subscribed to all of our social media, Power Conversations, and our YouTube channel, What's Your Superpower TV. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. All of our podcasts, our podcast is available on all podcasting platforms every Thursday at 8 a.m. So make sure you are subscribed so that you will be notified when a new episode is live. Thank you so much, Miss Shawn. Y'all have a great
Absolutely.
night.
Live loved.